Welcome to The Warp. I'm Jack Rita with Future Pastimes. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about what happens in Cosmic Encounter when you don't have any encounter cards. Now, this really only matters when you are a main player, but it plays out a little bit differently depending on whether you're the offensive main player or the defensive main player. And there's some confusion about what happens when the offense runs out of encounter cards during their turn. So let's break it down and try to get some definitive answers here. So if it is your turn as the offense at the start of your turn, the start turn phase, which is a quirky little phase that only happens at the beginning of your first encounter or any player's first encounter. There is a start turn phase. If a player has a second encounter, there is no start turn phase. It just goes straight to regroup. So start turn is its own phase, but it doesn't necessarily happen on every encounter. It only happens at the start of a turn. So during this phase, if the offense does not have any encounter cards, they discard any of the cards that they do have in their hand, and then they draw a new hand. Now, if that new hand doesn't have any encounter cards, they repeat that process. They discard everything, and then they draw a new hand. Once they have a new hand and there's at least one encounter card in it, then that phase ends, and you move into regroup. Now, if some other game effect can be done during start turn, it could happen after the offense has sorted out their new hand. And technically, if there is a timing dispute, the offense does their thing first, then the defense, and then clockwise from the offense. That's the classic timing conflict resolution. But at the end of start turn, if the offense does not have an encounter card, then their turn ends immediately. So let's say that you've gone through the whole thing, you've drawn your new hand, it's regroup, and somebody plays the plague on the offense, and they discard their last encounter card. Well, that's it. They're done. Their turn is over. Now, the reason that there's some confusion about this fact is because the original Fantasy Flight rulebook for Cosmic Encounter states that the offense doesn't end their turn until they need to play an encounter card, and they don't have one. But the 42nd anniversary edition of Cosmic Encounter, which is now the default one, that is the one that Fantasy Flight is now producing and reordering and putting into the stores, the rulebook changed that slightly. And it does coincide with what I just said. If after that point they run out of encounter cards, then their turn ends immediately. And that is consistent with the original Eon version of these rules. If at any point on their turn the offense runs out of challenge cards, as they were called then, their turn ends immediately. So that's the deal with the offense. They have to start their turn with an encounter card, and they had the opportunity to do that. But once things move forward, if they don't have any encounter cards, well, then they are out of luck. Their turn is over. Now, the defense actually doesn't draw a new hand of cards if they're out of encounter cards until they need to play one, and that would be in the planning phase. So they don't draw theirs at the start of the turn. They don't draw it at Destiny when it's been determined that they're the other main player. They have to wait it out. They've got to get through the alliance phase, and they have to invite players, and they can say, look, I'm drawing a new hand. I don't know what I'm going to get. Maybe I'll get something really good. Same thing with trying to intimate with the opposing main player about making a deal. They can say, I'm open to that idea, but I'm drawing a new hand, so I don't know if I'm going to get any negotiate cards. And of course, you don't have to disclose any of that information necessarily. That's up to you. But it's once you get through that whole alliance phase, everyone has committed or not committed, and it is time for encounter cards. That is when you must discard whatever you got left, and you draw your new hand there. Now, interesting little tidbit here about kickers. Kickers can be played by the defense before they draw a new hand. So, yeah, how fun is that? So there you have it. That's the deal with getting a new hand of encounter cards. And I will point out, of course, if the defense draws a new hand and there's no encounter cards. They discard everything and then they do it again. So that's how it works. If you have any questions about what to do when you have no encounter cards, hit me up in the comments. Let me know how you've been playing it and what you think of the official rules and anything else that has to do with drawing a new hand. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again soon.